to Doris's Kitchen. Now today, because it's going to be Thanksgiving, we're going to make our famous pumpkin pie. Now there's two ways of doing it, the regular way, or because a lot of people during the holidays are trying to lose weight, you can also just put some of your pie fillings right into a Pyrex container, and then after that, just spoon it out in the little dishes and put a little bit of Cool Whip. And I think you're going to find that a lot of people, because they like to have just a little bit of everything, because after all, during the holidays is when we gain a lot of weight. So having everything in moderation is the key. So if you don't want the whole crust and everything, we'll show you how to do that. Then we just spoon it in the little dishes, a little dab of whipped cream. So when you serve your desserts and everything, have some pieces of pie with the whipped cream, and have some with the little dish, which is just the pie filling, the pumpkin, because Thanksgiving is not Thanksgiving without the pumpkin, right? Okay, so that way they can have their pumpkin, the traditional for Thanksgiving, and have it just in moderation. So first, we made our crust. Okay, now to make your crust, you use 2 cups of flour to 3/4 cup of shortening. And then instead of using water, which a lot of people in the old days used it, I use milk because it helps to hold the dough together a lot better, easier for spreading, and it's also, the milk is at the right temperature to make it just smoothen. And what I like to do with my pumpkin pie, because I like a little buttery taste, is I use the butter flavored Crisco. Okay, because that just gives it that flavor. You know, just like if you watch some of my other videos, you'll see I use different dressings for different foods. It's the same with my pies and my baked goods. Some you can use the butter flavor, and others you don't want to take the flavor away, you know, of what you're baking. So when you put your pie crust and you make it on there, make sure you tuck it in. Okay, because you don't want it, because when it cooks it kind of like shrinks up, and you don't want air pockets, okay? So you tuck it all in, and then a lot of people will just take their knives and just cut around. Now you don't really want to do that if you know, because then when you turn around and take your fork, you know, and put it in flour to go around and press, it'll be kind of flat, and pumpkin pie has to cook for a long time. So if you do that, it's going to be really flat, and your crust around the edge is going to cook too fast, okay, for the pie, for the pumpkin filling, okay? So you want to leave like maybe 1/4 of an inch around, so you can kind of tuck it to make it a little bit thicker, okay? And, oops, I forgot my milk. Now, just so you can buy a little bit of your cooking time, I use my milk and I go around. Because when it's cooking, you know, it's got to cook at 450 degrees for about 15 minutes, and then you'll turn it down to, well, 400 degrees is enough. Then you turn it down to 350 for about 40 minutes. So there's a lot of cooking time involved. So there we go. This will buy me a little bit of time. Now a lot of people will use tin foil and kind of put it around, but a lot of times that your crust will stick to the tin foil. So I have another little tip that I use. If I do this before I bake, then about a half hour into the baking, my crust is kind of starting to brown just a little bit, and we all have a frying pan that has a cover, and I put the frying pan on it. It won't stick. Your crust won't stick to it and everything because it's already been cooking for a half hour, so it kind of made its hard shell, just didn't totally brown. And then about the last 10 minutes, I take the cover off. And then it finishes browning like this. Okay? So, let me wash my hands here. So that's my little tip for that, okay? So first, in order to do our pumpkin pie, we're going to have 2 large eggs. This goes so quick. I mean, you know, it's so easy. You don't need to buy your pumpkin pie because this is just so easy to do. Now I'm going to turn around and whip that up, only because I like my eggs really mixed. It saves later on in some of the mixing. Okay, so that's nicely mixed. 3/4 cup of sugar. Put that right in there. Ooh, don't this look nice? Almost looks like lemon meringue. Okay. Then we're going to add 1 can of condensed milk. I mean, this is just so easy. Now, if you don't want to make the pie crust, if you go in the area where the butter is and the croissants and the biscuits in the store, they also have those packages that have 2 pie crusts. Okay, so you could just roll it right out, put it in there, and this is just put it all together and throw it in the oven. Homemade, yay! Everybody cheats. You know, when times are limited, especially during the holidays, and you got to hurry up and make a pie, or even, you know, really, when you're invited to a party and it's bring a dish and somebody wants you to bring the dessert, well, 2 of those pie crusts and a can of cherries or apple pie filling or blueberry filling, whatever. People just cheat. Put it all together. By the time you take a shower, it's baked. Okay, so here we have a can of pumpkin, Libby's. Doesn't matter which one you use. Okay, then we add our spices. For a cinnamon, we want a whole teaspoon. Love this container. Okay, for our ginger, we want a 1/2 teaspoon. Now I'm part of the old day way of cooking. You know, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect. Okay. And then our cloves. All right. We'll just stir this all up. And we're almost done here. Okay, again, you bake it. I would go only 400. Kind of depends on your oven. If you have an oven that bakes really good, but if you want to be, you're not totally sure because you haven't baked too much, or you just moved in a new place, you don't know how the oven works, go with just the 400 for 15 minutes. Then cut it down to the 350. Make sure your oven's all preheated, because the whole reason of putting it on a high speed to begin with and then cutting it down to the 350 is because what it needs to do for the rising and everything. So you don't put it in a cold oven and then turn the oven on. You want your oven all preheated. So about the time you're putting all this together after you made your crust, that's a good time to turn it on. Okay, and that's it. Pour it in there. Leave room for your whipped cream. Okay, and then the rest of this, I'm going to pour into my Pyrex dish, because I'm going to want to make it kind of like a pudding. Now you don't want to make what's in your Pyrex dish any thicker than what your pie would be, because it still has to do its rising, and if you do that, what you'll have is cooked on the outside and not cooked in the center. So if you're not going to do it in the pie crust at all, then you'll need a bigger Pyrex dish than this. But this is kind of equal to a 1 pie. Okay? That way there, it can cook the same amount of time as the pie, and it'll be cooked perfect. And this is your result. Ta-da! This one's kind of has to cool down a little bit more. I just made it. But that's your pie. So, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Remember your neighbors, your elderly neighbors during the holiday season. Make a little extra or make an extra pie and give it to them. Okay? Bye-bye now. Happy holidays.